Somewhere I read about a man who went to an auto auction. These are kind of interesting things to go to. They were selling cars to benefit a local charity. The vehicles in this auction, though, were classified as either running or no start. On the auction block was a no starter. It had a shattered windshield, 2 missing tires, a sagging front bumper, a cockeyed grill, a hood that was sprung up at an angle, and dings and dents all over the body. Before he started the bidding, the auctioneer announced the car's year, make, and model. Then the auctioneer read a note that the owner had left. The note said, "Please note, the radio does not work." Well, there's lots more wrong with that car than just the fact the radio didn't work. But some people are like that car. They're broken. You're not even certain how they got that way. Kind of reminds me of a Lutheran pastor who always heard each service saying, "The Lord be with you." Now, people were so programmed over the years that they just automatically responded, "and also with you." And one Sunday morning, the PA system wasn't working, and the pastor standing there and he goes, "This microphone has something wrong with it." The congregation responded, "and also you." You and I know the truth. There's something wrong with all of us. In our lesson for the day, Mark tells us the apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going, that they did not have a chance to eat, he said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." And so they went by themselves to a boat to go to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all over the towns and villages and got there ahead of them. So when Jesus landed and saw the large crowd, he had compassion on them, because they were just like sheep without a shepherd, Scripture says. So he began teaching them many things. Sheep without a shepherd. What a descriptive term. That was Jesus' reaction to the multitude who were seeking him out. And he had compassion on them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. You know, have you ever been saddened by the human condition of our world today? This is a wondrous world, and each of us is happy to be alive. But you have to be touched by what some of the writers call as the pathos of humanity. There's something sad and almost pathetic about human beings today. For all our pride, all our knowledge, all our sophistication, there are areas of our life in which we are also vulnerable and so uncertain and so insecure. Middle-aged people watching young people and remembering the days gone by. How many think about, boy, if I was 13 again or 14 again? I'd like to be that age again. But you think about all the struggles, all the intense feelings of that age. And we envy their youth, but not their situation. We'll probably sit around in heaven someday and we say the same thing about our days on earth. It was nice while it lasted, but I wouldn't go back. Heartache of loving and losing, fears and insecurities about the future, aging and dying, the inability to get our act together, doing those things we know in our hearts we ought not to do, and leaving off those things we know we should be doing, and how destructive that is to us. The difficulty in connecting our lives with one another. I'm certain that God sees our condition and has compassion on us, for we remind him of a sheep without a shepherd. You know, sheep are particularly prone to wander. Sheep just kind of go where they want to, and they have to be washed wherever their sheep going, especially in treacherous terrain, for they will invariably wander off and get themselves in some serious trouble. Sheep have a strong instinct to follow the sheep in front of them, kind of like the magnet thing I was doing up here. Hello, Alex, you did better than I did. But when one sheep decides to go somewhere and starts to wander, guess what? The rest of the flock's right there behind him. And even if it's not a good decision, they're right there behind him. For example, a sheep will follow each other to slaughter. I'd stop and think about it. How about you? They don't. Yeah, we'll go right on with them. If one sheep jumps over a cliff, the others are likely to follow. Even from birth, lambs are conditioned to follow the older members of the flock. It's something hardwired into them. They don't have to be trained to do it. Don't have to think about it. They just do it. I read something recently that kind of caught my attention. You all heard about Dead Sea Scrolls sometime in your life. You've read about those ancient scrolls. They were scrolls in a large collection of manuscripts. Many of them copies of Old Testament books, which date back to the 1st century. Before they were found, basically only had manuscripts that dated back to about 10th century. In biblical scholarship terms, it was a huge, significant find. But you know how those things were found? Have you ever read about it? It was in the mid-1930s. A shepherd boy was looking for lost sheep in the valley of the Dead Sea. And in that valley there's many caves. He's throwing rocks into these caves to scare the sheep out. And he threw a rock into one cave and he heard something break. And it was a pot. And so he went in to check and find out what was in there. And the investigation revealed hundreds of sealed pots with manuscripts well preserved inside. And those manuscripts became known as the Dead Sea Scrolls. Isn't that classic? A major archaeological find occurred because sheep are prone to wander off and get lost. Of course, sheep aren't the only creatures of God that wander. You know, I recently read that, according to reputable sources, every day in America, 2,300 people are reported missing. Every day, 2,300 people are reported missing in this land. Some are displaced by hurricanes, and others are abducted by distraught parents, or an old man, his mind long gone, simply walks off. Teenagers, tired of abuse and chaos at home, flee for what they suppose to be a fresh start. Some people fake their own deaths even, just to collect the insurance. Others are taken with criminal intent. And there's a military category, missing in action. This happens to far too many people missing in action. The Timothy report carried a story of one such young man. He was 19 years old, without explanation. He disappeared into the woods in Maine. He lived alone for 27 years, living off what he could steal from camps in the area. And people in that area had not ever seen him. And they weren't even sure that he even existed. That he was only a legend. They called him the North Pond Hermit. Now they know that his name is Christopher Knight. And police estimate he committed over 1,000 burglaries. When he was arrested in April of 2013, after being caught on a surveillance camera, he spoke to a police officer, the first human being he had spoken to for all those years, except for a short period of time when he passed a hiker on a trail in the mid-1990s. How many of you could go off by yourself for 27 years and not speak to somebody? How many of you could go a whole day without speaking to somebody? What happened to Christopher Knight and why he walked off, nobody knows. Maybe it was a mental condition, maybe because he alienated from his family. We're not told what led him to lose himself in Maine woods. Other people lose themselves in other ways. Some choose unsavory companionships. Some take up risky habits like snorting cocaine or others habit-forming substances. Some fall victims to violence. But some seem to just wander off like sheep without a shepherd, perhaps looking for greener pastures. The interesting thing is that many of these people have no interest in returning home. In fact, Sir Thomas Beecham, the British conductor and impresario, was conducting a rehearsal of Handel's Messiah. And he said to the choir when they were singing, "All we like sheep have gone astray," he said, "Might we have a little more regret and a little less satisfaction?" That's how many lost sheep are today. Little regret and total satisfaction. God sees us as sheep without a shepherd, and it saddens him to see us flounder about with no sense of direction, no sense of purpose, no sense of hope. Sheep are prone to wander. Sheep wander in parts because they don't travel in straight lines. Have you ever watched a herd of sheep? They don't travel in a straight line. That's because the way their eyes are set in their head, they wander one direction to look on this side to see what may be falling away by a predator. And then they wander off this way to see what's going on this side. Protect themselves from danger. It allows them to observe their backside from each direction. Sheep are also quite fragile. Sheep are naturally defenseless. They have to be watched continually. They need protection at night. Predators usually try to infiltrate the flock to kill the sheep at night. And sheep are able to spot dogs or other perceived forms of danger up to 1,200 to 1,500 yards away. But no matter how many times you bring wayward sheep back, says one writer, they are prone to wander off again because they can't learn from their mistakes. Some of us can't learn from our mistakes. We just keep making them over and over and over again. Kind of like those sheep. And that's important because sheep are defenseless and dependent. They don't have much of a bite, no natural defense. They don't have any claws, or no horns, no fangs, not even a stink bag like a skunk. To make matters worse, they're top heavy and their legs are real spindly. So it makes them slow. Plus they have no camouflage, so when they're being chased by wolves or other predators, they're out of luck. Unless they happen to find a store somewhere with racks and racks and racks of wool coats. Sheep are also susceptible to all kinds of disease. They eat too much. If you let them, then they're going to get sick. And they're definitely not your king of the forest type. And finally, sheep are easily frightened and confused. It doesn't take much to scramble the simple mental yoke of a nervous sheep. They've been known to plunge right over a high precipice in a panic. The others follow the lead sheep. Sheep are fragile and quite vulnerable, like many people. Like many people whose reputation for a lack of ambition and vision is well deserved. Largely disinterested in politics, viewing it as a time away from work. Sheep respect the law and never question authority. This leaves them susceptible to the whims of the canine personalities, who with their dominance and leadership are able to change the direction of the entire herd. Like most things in life, though, sheep turn this into an advantage by utilizing the protection and guidance provided by the stronger animals. Physically, sheep are nondescript and uninspiring. Dressing conservatively in wool coats, they draw a little attention to themselves as possible. Lacking for the bulk of strength of larger animal personalities, they are vulnerable to predatory behavior. As a defense mechanism, they utilize their strong herding instinct, safety in numbers, so to speak, and the pooling of resources more than makes up for the sheep's vulnerability, and they flourish accordingly. It's known that animals can instantly recognize the voice of a familiar, trusted people. sheep, believe it or not, have excellent memories for faces. They remember their handler. They always remember people who inflict abuse on them also. And God's angry when anyone tries to harm one of his sheep in any way. That's why God sent Christ to be our shepherd. I am the good shepherd, Christ says. John 10:14. I know my sheep, and they know me. And this is good news for today. The Creator God not only looks upon his children with compassion, but he's moved into the world to redeem those who are lost, to become the shepherd of the sheep. Even more than that, he became the lamb slain for the sins of this world. In his book, A Turtle on a Fence Post, Alan C. Emery tells of the night he spent on the Texas plains with a shepherd who was keeping 2,000 sheep. And the shepherd prepared a bonfire for cooking supper and providing warmth. And the sheepdogs lay near the fire as the stars filled the sky. And suddenly Emery heard the unmistakable wail of a coyote out on the plain. And then he heard the answering call from the other side of the range of another coyote. And the dogs weren't patrolling at that moment. And the coyote seemed to know that. And rising quickly, the shepherd tossed some logs on the fire to make it bigger. And when Emery looked out at the sheep, he saw thousands of little eyes. Emery writes, I realized that these were reflections of the fire in the eyes of the sheep. In the midst of danger, the sheep were not looking out into the darkness, or were keeping their eyes set toward the shepherd. That's what you and I need to do each day. Keep our eyes set toward the shepherd. In John 10:27, Jesus said that his sheep hear him and follow him and he knows them. Those of us who live in the Western world don't have an accurate picture of what it means to be led like sheep. Western shepherds drive their sheep from behind the flock, using dogs to bark and nip at the heels of the sheep to get them to go where they want them to go. Eastern shepherds, like those in Bible terms, lead their sheep from the front. In fact, author Neil Anderson tells about watching a shepherd lead his flock on a hillside outside Bethlehem during a visit to the Holy Land. The shepherd sat on a rock while the sheep grazed around him. And after a time, he stood up. After saying a few words to the sheep, he walked away. And the sheep followed right after him. He said it was fascinating. Anderson says the words of Jesus in John 10:27 suddenly took on new meaning. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. So often in a modern world, the noise of life are muffled, and the shepherd's voice isn't heard. But still the shepherd calls. He knows each one of us by name, and he cares for us as if there was no one else on earth to care for. Jesus told the parable in Luke 15 about a shepherd who has 100 sheep and loses one of them. And we all know what he did. He leaves the 99 and looks for the one in the open countryside. He goes after that lost sheep. And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and heads towards home. Then he calls his friends and neighbors together and says, rejoice with me, I have found my lost sheep. Then Jesus says, I tell you in the same way, there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who did not need to repent. What we need to see is that Christ's love is at the same time universal and highly individualized. The Good Shepherd loves all his sheep, while at the same time he loves each individual sheep as if they were the only sheep in the world to love. The point is that people often wander from the flock. But there's one who is our good shepherd, always seeking to rescue us and bring us back into the fold if we will allow him to do that. My favorite hymn says it this way. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above. And you all remember that hymn. Thing is, are you feeling a little lost today? A little on the outside? Maybe you feel more than a little lost. Maybe you feel a lot lost. Let me tell you, the Good Shepherd is here this day, seeking to help you find your way back to the flock. He wants to put you on his shoulders and take you once more into that safe place with him. All you have to do is listen closely, and you'll hear him call your name. Amen.